Hey everyone, let's jump straight into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking Morgan Housel's absolute game-changer of a book, The Psychology of Money. We're going to see exactly why doing well with your finances isn't about being a math genius. It's actually a soft skill, where your daily behavior matters way more than your intelligence.
Think about this for a second. Why is it that a brilliant, highly educated doctor can end up totally bankrupt, while a janitor with just a high school diploma can retire a multimillionaire? It sounds kind of crazy, right? But it happens. In the real world, we see stories like Ronald Reed. He was a janitor and gas station attendant who quietly saved what little he had, consistently bought blue-chip stocks, and literally amassed an $8 million fortune by the time he passed away. Meanwhile, you have someone like Richard Fuscon, a Harvard-educated MBA and a hugely successful financial executive. He borrowed heavily to expand his massive 18,000-square-foot mansion, got entirely wiped out by the 2008 financial crisis, and declared bankruptcy. How is that even possible? Well, if finance were purely about spreadsheets and technical knowledge, the brilliant executive would win every single time. But they don't, and that leads us to a massive realization about how we actually interact with our money.
And here is our first major paradigm shift. Look at traditional finance versus behavioral finance. We are traditionally taught to treat money like it's physics, right? Like it's governed by absolute rules and undeniable laws that apply the exact same way to everyone. But honestly, finance is completely different. It's an intensely psychological landscape. Every single financial decision you make makes perfect sense to you in the moment, purely because it's based on your own emotional history, your childhood, and your totally unique worldview.
So, let's hit section 1. Finance is not math.
Because we're human, we rely on mental shortcuts. Emotions like fear, envy, and pride constantly hijack our rational brains, leading even super smart people to make poor choices. Thanks to behavioral research, we know all about loss aversion. That's the fact that you feel the pain of losing money about twice as intensely as the joy of gaining that exact same amount. It makes us overly cautious and terrified of temporary market dips. Then you've got herd behavior, where we just blindly copy what everyone else is doing instead of doing our own research, which, you guessed it, drives huge market bubbles and crashes. We also battle overconfidence, taking ridiculous risks just based on pure ego. And perhaps the most dangerous one of all is moving goalposts. That's the endless, exhausting pursuit of always needing more just to feel validated. We aren't acting like calculating machines here, folks. We're acting like highly emotional humans.
Moving right along to section 2. Getting wealthy versus staying wealthy.
What's really fascinating here is the realization that making money and keeping it are two completely different games. Assuming that being good at one makes you naturally good at the other, that is a dangerous trap. Getting rich demands taking bold risks, immense optimism, and bravely putting yourself out there. But staying wealthy? Oh, that requires the exact opposite. It demands extreme humility. It requires frugality and honestly, kind of a paranoid survivor mentality. This underlying fear that you could lose what it took you so long to build if you aren't incredibly careful. I absolutely love this quote from Morgan Housel. If I had to summarize money success in a single word, it would be survival. Financial longevity really is just about sticking around long enough without making a fatal mistake. It's about surviving the inevitable downturns and personal missteps. Just think about the staggering statistic. 40% of companies that are successful enough to become publicly traded eventually lose effectively all of their value. 40%. So to win, your primary goal shouldn't be chasing massive short-term gains. It should be absolute, undeniable survival over the long haul.
Which brings us to section 3, the magic of compounding.
Once you learn how to survive, you unlock the real superpower of finance. The true magic behind Warren Buffett's extraordinary wealth isn't just his ability to find high returns. It's his behavioral discipline. He started early, he was unfathomably patient, and he never panic sold. The counterintuitive key to compounding is simply never interrupting it. The math is simple, but the human behavior required to actually execute it, that's incredibly hard. When the market dips or a flashy new crypto token drops, our emotions scream at us to do something. But the secret is to leave it alone. Let it run wild for decades. Consistency almost always beats brilliance.
Now let's explore this next concept. Luck and risk are siblings in the financial world. Nothing is ever as good or as bad as it seems. We have to recognize that forces totally outside our control drive both unexpected success and unexpected failure. Not all success is pure hard work, and not all failure is due to laziness. Take Bill Gates, for example. His chance early access to a remarkably advanced computer terminal at his high school way back in 1968 was a literal 1 in a million stroke of luck that set the stage for Microsoft. You're just one person playing a global game with 7 billion other people. Accidental impacts outside your control can be vastly more consequential than your conscious actions. The takeaway? Be exceptionally humble in your successes and really forgiving in your failures.
This brings us to a vital, though often ignored concept, the idea of having enough. If your lifestyle expectations rise equally with your income, you're going to be trapped on a psychological treadmill, constantly trying to keep up with the Joneses. You will never feel satisfied. Worse, you'll start taking bigger, more dangerous risks just to feel that same thrill, which eventually leads to financial ruin. Recognizing your limits and defining what enough means for you is the ultimate defense mechanism against endless greed.
And that leads us perfectly into our final section. True wealth equals freedom.
What are we actually trying to achieve with all this saving and investing? Well, let's talk about the man-in-the-car paradox. When you see someone driving a $100,000 Ferrari, you don't actually admire the driver, right? You imagine yourself in the Ferrari. The driver is just desperately looking for respect. But ironically, that car only proves they have $100,000 less in the bank than they did yesterday. That's the definition of being rich, spending your current income on visible luxury. But being wealthy? Wealth is entirely hidden.
As Housel points out, wealth isn't the physical stuff you buy. It's the financial flexibility you save. He writes, the only way to be wealthy is to not spend the money that you do have. It's not just the only way to accumulate wealth, it's the very definition of wealth. True wealth is the luxury cars you didn't purchase, the diamonds you left at the store, the extravagant renovations you postponed. It is the invisible, unspent money sitting quietly in an account. So, why do we actually want to accumulate this invisible wealth? What's the point? Here's the point. The absolute greatest value money can offer is the ability to control your own time. Every single dollar you save without a specific spending goal is essentially buying back a piece of your future independence. It's peace of mind. The highest dividend money pays is waking up every single morning and saying, I can do whatever I want today. Your savings give you the flexibility to wait for a better job, weather a medical emergency, or honestly, just spend a Tuesday afternoon playing Legos on the floor with your kids without a single ounce of guilt.
To put this into perspective, consider this mind-blowing number, 10,000. Out of 10,000 centenarians, people who lived to be over 100 years old, who were interviewed about their lives, do you know how many wished they had worked harder to buy a fancier house or earn more money? Zero. Absolutely zero. They universally wish they'd spent more unstructured time with their families, friends, and loved ones. That proves right there that time and human relationships are our ultimate assets. Money is literally just a tool to give you the independence to protect those assets.
So, I'm going to leave you with this final provocative thought. Are you playing the totally unwinnable game of just looking rich? Or are you quietly building the freedom to become truly wealthy? Reconsider your relationship with status today. Remember, financial success isn't about being the smartest math whiz in the room. It's about behaving well, surviving your mistakes, avoiding the toxic trap of envy, and quietly accumulating the assets to buy back your own freedom. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope this reshapes how you think about every single dollar you save.